Welcome back, sports lovers. This is part 2 of Blues and Trees episode 3. We are now going to move on to the NUBA NBA. Do you want to take it away, Pitch?
Yeah, part 1 doesn't exist just yet, but we'll get to that. Please like
If
and
it ever
subscribe.
does,
Like and subscribe, people. Okay.
If it does make it to the air, part 1 was very fiery, very political, where we spoke about the Live PGA. We actually nearly fell out over it because it was getting a bit fiery. If it makes it on the air, that's cool. You will see what we're talking about, but we've not decided if it's going to be fun or edible. But anyway,
ready for digesting. Anyway, let's get to something that's a bit more exciting. The reason why we're swapping microphones like a bunch of peasants is
we said that part 1.
Graham
But you might not have seen
McConnell.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Graham McConnell has decided to leave his cord behind, so he's
This is a stage prop.
yeah, exactly, 100% stage pop. Albeit his foghorn voice is probably more suitable enough to.
I could literally stand outside and you still hear me, so it's all good.
Let's get to, and without trying to sound like every other person, but it's a reality of the situation. Please, everyone, like and subscribe. Hopefully, you enjoy listening to us. We're a bunch of 2 average Joes that love our sport, and we're just speaking our bants.
Have we got? I think, we've been doing this now for about 2 months. I got the Masters pretty spot on, and you got the relegation in the Prem bang on, which was amazing. I tell you, I bought you a little gift, and I did a shoe you for getting it bang wrong, right? But he picked it 10 weeks out. He picked the 3 teams to go down, and they were nowhere at the time. 2 of them, obviously everyone picked Southampton, but at the time 2 of them were nowhere near it, and you nailed it.
Let's speak of while we're at it. Let's go straight to football then.
Okay then.
NBA.
Okay then.
Considering you mentioned it.
So you're a Man U fan.
Well, yeah. Just on that though, the last poddy was our preview into last week. The reality is,
I took a punt as well. I took a punt
Everton
on
did
Everton, and I did a share. It can't be asked in another share. I'll do another share another time, but it does stink. But I took a punt on Everton going down. I knew they had Bournemouth at home, right? And I thought, but you just don't know Bournemouth. They've been one of those weird teams all year. Everton's never going down. We talked about this in the last podcast. I put my put my neck on the line. I said Everton. They'll lose or draw, and I thought Leicester might stay up. Leicester did win, but they went down. Leeds were a mad disappointment. Big Sam, you'd expect more from Sam. So 1 point out of 4 games is embarrassing for Big Sam.
But
given it the big in that I'm as good as Pep, I'm as good as Klopp, all that stuff.
Pep's going to make them a fucking.
I'm not saying Pep or Klopp could have kept them up. I don't think anyone was keeping them up.
But that for me
it was a tough run in. But home to Spurs on the last day of the season. Now Spurs have been rubbish. They actually didn't have anything to play for in the last game of the season. I think they could maybe have got into the Conference League, but they needed Villa to lose. Or
put it this way,
and they beat them 4-1. They smoked them.
But mate, they're shite. When
Leeds. Yeah, they are. They deserve to go down.
When Big Sam took over, I said 10% chance. 10%.
But like I said, to give you props, 10 weeks before the relegation, like 28 weeks in, you picked Leeds and Leicester, and I thought, because at the time, Bournemouth were in the relegation, Notts Forest were hovering around it, the goal difference was terrible, and I thought Leicester's squad's too good to go down, and Leeds are probably going to get up. They'll just survive, right? You nailed it. So well done. You hate Leeds though, that's why you picked them, probably.
Well, yeah, I had a funny feeling this will be that 3 Premier League teams go down, as far as 3
no championship.
Teams,
Yeah.
Or
So I think it's the 4th or 5th time in the history of the Prem that all 3 have stayed up.
And at that time, Bournemouth had just got beat by Arsenal, a late last minute winner.
Oh yeah, that was an amazing game. That's when I thought Arsenal could win the league that day, actually.
Yeah, I mean, when you start getting those kind of results, you think, this is our year, which is absolutely fine.
Despite it's very Scouser of you.
Yeah, exactly.
This is our year.
But the way Bournemouth played, Billing, Solanke, honestly, I
really
was really impressed.
The boy Taylor deserves a contract. I don't know if he's been given one, but the manager deserves a contract.
I mean, the only thing I would say is as soon as they got to 39 points, I think they lost a lot 3 or 4.
You went to sleep. Of course, but who cares?
Look,
that's your job.
Yeah, but
as Roy Keane would say, that's your job.
Yeah, that's your job. Unbelievable. Who was Leicester?
Notts Forest were a big surprise for me. They had 400 players, right? A bit of a basket case club. Conceding for days, and then Henderson get injured, who was easily the player of the season leading up to when he got injured, like your Man U goalie. And they were falling off a cliff, and I think either bottom or definitely bottom 3. and the chairman came out and said, we're not sacking Cooper, we're going to keep him.
Which is a big surprise because the way he's acted over the last few years, he's literally hire and fire.
The owner. Well, I mean, Cooper came in when they were in the bottom three in the championship last year, turned it around. But I like to think like loyalty should be rewarded, right? And they stuck by him and they stayed up. So good on them.
But you know what it is, I think, mate, is I think that was all driven by the fans.
He actually.
Fans loved
Steve
it.
Cooper said this. He said they were chanting Cooper stay, when they lost 4-1 to Leicester. Right, brilliant. You know my feelings on manager like merry-go-round stuff. We talked about this actually over lunch. Fergie, the famous story with the replay against Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
If they hadn't won that game, the rumours always are, the famous rumours are, he would have got sacked, right? And we wouldn't have had the dynasty that Man United created and the greatest manager of all time, right? We wouldn't have that. Maybe he'd have gone somewhere else and been the greatest manager of someone else. Hope so. Probably. He was amazing. But little things, right? And loyalty is rewarded. And you had the 25-year span where they won everything. Arsene Wenger, 13, 14 years. They probably kept him a bit too long, but he earned the right to stay as long as he wanted, right? Arsene Wenger. Right? He'd probably run out of gas maybe 2 years before, right?
I dare say 5 years before.
Possibly, right? But you earn the right to pick your own date, right?
But it became very, for me, again, if I'm criticising Arsenal, which I was happy to see them flank.
You're happy to see them choke, even though Man City won the league again?
No, I'm saying flank in the later years of Wenger. It was.
But you have to admit, when the Prem was at its best, it was Man U Arsenal.
Yeah, but I mean, the Prem was at its best because it also had the Chelseas, the Liverpool, and the spitefulness between English players, the Gerrard, Lampards, and
I reckon 97 to 2004.
To England's
the best Prem's ever been.
Absolutely, yeah. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm talking more about the last 5 to 10 years of Wenger, which is the trophy.
Yeah, no, you're right. I agree. I'd say 2 years. You said 5, but
he spoke more of. Obviously, the stadium, the cost of that.
And he was a businessman as well, right? And so was Fergie. They took control of the whole thing, the club.
But the big thing was...
This is before GMs. Like, GMs came in after that, and the last 2 clubs to probably get a GM was Man U and Arsenal because they had the 2 best things. And that's why they've been set back, because the other clubs became... The Bruce Bucks and all that at Chelsea. What's the guy called? The ZT, whatever, at Man City, the ex-Barca GM?
Felix Schicklien.
Yeah.
But the thing is...
Glad you can see
that. Well, I'm mumbling through that, but the thing is, United have only just had one 3-4 years ago. So we had an investment banker that probably doesn't know what fucking pitch what colour we play in, how many players are allowed on the pitch. Running the biggest football club.
I get it, and like I said, unfortunately,
he ran commercials. And football, and you know what? How many?
But that is unfortunate. That is a negative of having 2 great coaches. Having Alex Ferguson for 25 years, who did everything. No, it is because you're slow to the game with everything else because you had such an all-conquering leader. That's all I'm saying.
But surely, as a business, your understanding of the dynamics of sport, you're looking at yourself going, we haven't won anything for 3 years, and we've got an investment banker that's signing our players.
I agree with that.
And what kind of money are we making back on sales? Do you know that? I think it's literally. We'll go through it in the next podcast around how much money United have made from sales over the last 10 years. It is fucking embarrassing.
Yeah, but then you have to put in like 80 million on Maguire, 90 million on Anthony. Then you've got to put in all that as well, right?
Which makes it doubly as bad.
Yeah, I know.
So if you think about Pogba signed again, had 10 games. Martial, contract renewal, 10 games.
You know that? Yeah, my favourite thing was there's a clause in Martial's contract if he wins a Ballon d'Or.
But
what a waste of ink.
Exactly. But the other one is these guys leaving for free.
I know.
So you've re-signed it, you've paid a hefty fee, you're paying them over the odds a week, and then they're leaving for nothing. It's a fucking joke.
Listen, we're talking about, and this is a debate, right? We're talking about loyalty versus.
Anyway, we got sidetracked.
I'm saying that I'm very happy that Notts Forest stayed up and they stayed with the manager, right? Last year, the year before, right, Burnley went down, sacking Dyche before they went down. I thought it was stupid, and they went down, right? Loyalty is important, But
the two players, on Not Forest that I really liked was Gibbs White. He looks great.
He's great,
And Johnson, he looks superb. I mean, against United,
I was very surprised with Johnson because he's a championship player and he's really stepped up. Yeah, no, I agree with that. High five.
I mean, the Nigerian, a big fan of the show, Dodzi, who has drafted the Nigerian Prince, their striker, really came through with him. I know that'll hurt.
He scored in the last day of the week. He scored in the last game of the season.
He scored in the last 3 or 4 games.
And now I'm going to go to lunch or dinner.
Hold on a sec. We'll get to that. Right. So the Nigerian Prince, I can't pronounce his surname of. He didn't score for about 6 months, and then he scored about 6 or 7 in the last 3 or 4 games. To get our dear fan of the show, Dodzi, over our co-host GMAC in the fantasy football. GMAC now with Kevin De Bruyne and a small guy or a guy that had a relatively good season that people might know, Erling Haaland. Despite having those 2 players, my dear cohort here, Graham has to take a blow-up doll on a date as part of the bet that he lost on the last day of the season. I'll hand that over to you, mate.
I have literally been sick for 2 weeks over this. I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories where someone took one of my players out of my team and I missed out on 6 points. I'm not going to get into that, right? And I lost by 3 points, by the way. I'm not going to get into those conspiracy theories. But I was probably about 50 points clear of Dodgy with about 2 games to go. And his players turned into Pele and Messi. And my superstar players were put on the bench with tracksuit and wrapped up in cotton wool because Arsenal fucking choked. And they won the league 2 weeks too early, right? So Haaland got his 36 probably in April, and then they were scored again, right? So I'm going into the last week of the season going, I think I need realistically about 15 points, I'll be fine. I got 23 points, I thought, brilliant. And then I woke up, Dodgy's got like 40 points as I get to France. Right, yes. Anyway, these are the...
We'll have photos of your date with Betty, the blow-up doll.
Yeah, I'm going to do it on the evening of the auction. I'll take her for an early dinner. We'll take photos, we'll video it, but it has literally robbed me for 2 weeks and lost by 3 points, had 6 points robbed off of me about 5 weeks ago, which I made very clear. But anyway, no one cares. No one seems to care. I thought one person might have gone, you know what, those 6 points should get added back in. No one said it.
No.
Anyway, the only human being in the world, in the whole fantasy, I bet in the whole world, that had both Haaland and De Bruyne and came last. Right? Seriously, guys.
Right, we'll move on. FA Cup.
West Ham. No.
FA Cup review.
Quick one on West Ham Fiorentina. Congratulations to all my Irons fans. West Ham
is a big fan of the show, rather. Steve Finch, obviously.
My mate Maka, you're probably still partying right now back in Bristol. Good luck to you, and I'm very proud of you. Rangers beat Fiorentina in the semis in 2008 to get to the final. They're a juggernaut Italian team. West Ham first time in the final in a long time. I wish it could have been Rangers West Ham last year in the final. I think Rangers might have done it, but either way I would have been happier than Frankfurt winning. But very proud of you guys, well done. Is this the end for Declan Rice at West Ham? He's a juggernaut.
Absolutely.
He's the king of that club, and I'd probably say the nicest person in football at the moment. You can build a club around that personality.
He reminds me of old school personality in the sense that he's just so ingrained in the club, and he will try his
clean cut.
He's clean cut.
Loves the fans, loves the club, gets involved, gives you shot away at the kids every night. Right? Doesn't drink alcohol, doesn't go out at night, focuses on his football. The consummate professional, and he's probably top 5 in every stat, whether it's passing, tackling, right? He could do with more goals. If he got more goals, then he's Bellingham. We're talking about him in the same league as Bellingham. Bellingham's a better midfielder, but Declan Rice, and I said this to you 2 years ago, before you got Casemiro, you don't need Declan Rice now, right? You could do with Mount maybe, but you don't need Declan Rice. But before you got Casemiro, I said Declan Rice could make you literally a league-winning team, because you had Fernandes and at the time you had Ronaldo and stuff. I said, you're missing that. Like Fred and McTominay are not good enough. Declan Rice would have changed you as a club. Casemiro has changed you, and you now no longer need Declan Rice, in my opinion, because Casemiro's a gun. But I also could do with Declan Rice. Who else? City don't need him. Spurs could do with Declan Rice. Probably Chelsea could do with Declan Rice if Kante's leaving.
I think the only two teams he's going to, possible anyway. I mean,
Arsenal's highly linked to him.
Yeah, but Bayern apparently there's a big link. I don't think he wants to go there apparently. Odds on is he's going to Arsenal.
If he goes overseas, in my opinion, if he goes overseas, I think you lose 50% of what makes him great, which is that London boy, cheeky chappy who loves the fans, who gets involved. If he's got to go to learn a new culture, learn a new language, I think he'd still be that awesome guy, the professional, but maybe you lose a bit of that.
Potentially, mate. I mean, I just think...
What would you pay for him?
80 to 90.
I'll go 100 for him. At Arsenal, and I'm an Arsenal fan.
80 to 90.
I'll go 100.
Remember, Grealish isn't worth 100.
He's not worth 100 at Man City, but you can even see now he's still brilliant.
He is
but if he was at
brilliant.
Arsenal or he's at Man
Yeah,
United,
yeah.
he's 100 every
Yeah.
day. When he was at Villa, he was the best player.
But
One of the best players in the
we're
league.
talking about
It's City
finding money,
that they've
mate.
got the best team in the world, and they're told to play a certain way.
I know, but but regardless of that, we're talking about money that 2 years ago was not prior to Grealish signing that. Would you have signed Grealish for 100 million?
I personally wouldn't have.
But the market's changed.
No, but also, like it depends. Like I always, when you say would you sign him, you think to your own club. You don't think he's joining GrahamMcConnell.com, right? You think he's joining Arsenal. I go, I don't think 100 million Grealish is going to make Arsenal a better team because we've got Saka, we've got
Yeah.
Martinelli. I think 100 million Declan Rice makes Arsenal a better team.
Yeah,
right.
No, it's a good point. But
Yeah.
you don't have Martinelli. You've got the money. Do you spend 100 million on Grealish,
Yeah.
or do you spend
Yeah.
100 million on A, B, and C?
Well, again, you've just taken one of my wingers off, so now I need a winger.
Yeah.
And yes, Grealish I'd pay 100 million for. Is he value for money? No, right? But is anyone at 100 million, right? Because it's such a risk.
No footballer for me.
Exactly.
No footballer in the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that is the market
Yeah.
we're living in. And if you're Man City and you have all the money in the world and you can cheat and lie and fudge your numbers and use Zero and Myob and Sage, right, for their payroll stuff,
Yeah.
then you can have a 50 million guy on the bench, you have a 100 million guy on the bench. I mean, they can do what they want, right? And we'll get into that, the politics and that stuff, right? And what's fair and what's not.
But
at the moment,
yeah.
they're legally winning everything, right?
We'll get
We
to,
could be talking in a year's
to
time
City.
and everything is taken
We'll get
off
to
them.
City. They've definitely done it, right? We'll get to that.
But would you pay would you pay 100 million for Declan Rice?
I can understand. Oh, look, that's the market. So I just don't understand. I don't believe any footballers will. I don't think he's world class yet.
Who is then?
Who is
In that position, defensive mid, centre mid, defensive centre mid, so not attacking centre mid,
You're
but
catching me
defensive.
off guard here now.
Well, Casemiro's very good.
Casemiro, but
It's better when you get in a World 11.
Well, what we're talking about now is like if you think about best players, and you were signing them now, many are in the 30 age group, so you're not signing them for 100 million because you've only got 3 years. Hence the
Who's a world class centre mid, like defensive mid?
Casemiro.
So Casemiro would get in your 11.
Yeah,
Well, I'm thinking now off the top of my head, but I mean Bellingham is a box to box midfielder, so he could play defensive centre mid.
Bellingham for me is not in that category, but what you're buying with Bellingham, and I think Bellingham
Is the
will
future.
Be,
He's 21.
I think Bellingham's going to be a fucking stud.
World class, yeah.
He
yeah.
is got fucking
Yeah.
glitter. I just thought
If
whenever
you
I
walk
saw
into your
him,
team right now, so to take that back, right? Obviously Bellingham's a better
Done.
signing because he's got 10 years out of him, right? Casemiro is he a better plug-in CDM
Yeah, of
than
course.
Bellingham?
Of
Probably.
course.
Who's better? And I have a quick think in the head. I'm struggling now because he's been so good for Man United this year. It's hard to argue that he'd be in your World 11. But if I had to pick a defensive mid,
Kante's gone.
certainly the boy Enzo Fernandez has really let me down at Chelsea. He looked great in the World Cup,
Yeah.
and he looks awful at Chelsea.
Yeah, but
that's
I think
right.
he's more because they want Casado, so I think what they want is Casado.
Arsenal want him as well.
And they want him to play
Yeah.
the 8 role. So they want him to play the Ericsson role or that player
Yep.
that takes the ball forward.
Yep.
Anyway, before what we'll do is in the next episode we've got sidetracked in our drunken state. We'll
I'm not drunk, by the way.
We'll congratulate West Ham on beating the mighty Italians, and then we'll have a quick review on FA Cup.
I'll take this over because I don't want you crying. I don't want you
Let
crying.
me just give you a
Okay.
quick one. United, exactly what I expected.
Did you?
Exactly what I expected.
You expect them to lose?
I expected
So it was
us
more
to lose.
hope, more hope.
Of
than-
course it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
Any fan, it's all hope at the moment. Martial injured because he fucking got out of bed. Anthony injured.
I'm surprised he got out of bed. Actually, that's just a step in the right direction, man.
Anthony injured. When you sign a player like Weghorst, as much as I love the bloke and he fucking tried his heart out. And,
Yeah, he's not good at that. He's not Man U class.
He's not Man U.
He bleeds Man U, but he's not Man U class.
And then you play Sancho, who gave away the ball 10 to 12 times in the first half. And then you have to take off Eriksen because he's fucked and he's old and he's having a bad game. And you have to leave Sancho on because the depth of your squad is fucking incomparable to City. You're always fighting a losing battle. The pen was obviously dodge, despite my protestations.
I'm anti-Man U as always, right? But I mean, I'm not pro-Man City either, but like, I always think Fernandes gets a lot of penalties, right? No, not always him. He obviously takes a lot of penalties, but Fernandes is a very good goal scorer, but he gets about 10, 15 a season on top of that in penalties, right? Man U are very good at winning penalties. For me, that's not handball for Grealish. It's not.
It's stupid from him. If I'm going to get critical, it's stupid. Is it deliberate? Of course not. So yeah, common sense would say.
The thing I would say
common
is,
sense is no. I was so happy to get it. Purely
it
because
made it a final. It made it good.
Purely because as soon as Lindelof, within the first fucking 10 seconds, heads that ball back straight in the middle of the pitch, despite me not thinking that fucking Gogdigan is going to fucking nail that in the top corner, I'm thinking, what the fuck have you just done?
To quote my God...
What have you done?
To quote my God, Mark Goldbridge, right? Oh, here's City, long ball. Why? Fucking why?
Exactly.
Right, 12 seconds, earliest goal in the FA Cup history.
As we all felt.
Long ball City.
Fucking hacks, honestly.
But,
Pep, good football. Fucking bullshit.
The
Wimbledon in disguise.
It's a massacre. Anyway, I love you, Mark Goldbridge. I hope you're a follower. I love you. But yeah, no, listen. When you watch a cup final and you're a neutral, you don't really care who wins, right? Now, I probably wanted Man U to win to stop this treble, right? But I knew City would. Well, you expect City to win, and they did win, right? But when they score in 12 seconds, you think, fuck me, this could be just an embarrassment, right? I remember the Liverpool Spurs Champions League final, it was a penalty like 2 minutes in. Chelsea Salah scored. It was game over, if I'm honest, as a product to watch as a neutral. Sure. Now, I don't particularly like Liverpool or Spurs, but I want to watch a good fight. I'd love to see 5-4, whoever. Penalty in the first minute to the favourite team, you know they're going to win. They're going to cruise it out, right? City scores in the first minute, you go, oh, Jesus, this could be a cricket score. But what I'm saying is, whether it was a penalty or not, it did make it a final.
Of course.
And it was a bit of an entertaining game after that.
Yeah.
Would you agree that City were the better team?
They were the better team, but having said, when I say just, I think they played a second or third gear, mate.
Yeah, well, I think they actually had in their head.
You can't have Rashford running off the scraps that has barely played the last 6 weeks.
Yeah,
he's not fit. He's definitely rusty. Sancho giving the fucking ball away every. Can
you guess how much Sancho gets paid a week?
Honestly,
can you guess how much Sancho gets paid?
He's stealing a wage.
350,000.
I think it's 300, but
350,000. He's top 5 in the league, right? 350,000.
He can't beat a player. He can't pass to a player. Honestly, it's disgraceful, mate. Between him and then Martial's getting.
Talk about burgling a career.
500 grand between him and Martial a week, and you think about Brighton. That pays 8 players at Brighton. It's a fucking reflection on what
the one thing I would say, and
United are a disgrace.
This is a bit of a not a disgrace.
Yeah, it shows you what a disgrace the club's been.
From top down, they're a disgrace.
What's happened?
But the one thing I would say, I'll give you some licks here. That Erik ten Hag is a gun manager, right? He's came in and he's from top to bottom. He realises what he's got, how big a project this is. Yeah. And his first season, he's got third. Now, granted, there's a bit of daylight between Arsenal and Man City. I think it was 9 points, but still, got you third and a trophy and a runners-up in the FA Cup. It could have got you 2 trophies and a third in the Champions League. So the year before, I think they were 25 points back from what they are this year. So that's a big improvement. Yeah. I got rid of Ronaldo, which was a huge issue. They were terrible at the start of the season. He'll get rid of Martial, get rid of Maguire, right? He'll get rid of them and he'll bring in some other people. But I'm just saying, I think if I was a Man U fan, which I'm not, but if I was, I'd be saying I'd give it a B+. I think it's been a good season.
100%. What we'll do, just for all the big fans out there, we'll go through each club, the sort of top 6, and then a couple of selective clubs, and we'll go through a bit of a ranking system and a score system on why we think they've
who's done well, who's underachieved, who's overachieved.
Leading on very quickly, we're expecting a Man City win on Sunday morning Australia time, Saturday night for everyone. Is there any chance the mighty Internazionale, my team in Italy, Internazionale, Milan can pull off an upset? Graham McConnell.
No.
Let's move on.
I will add some
Spice to
meat
that.
to that bone.
Yeah.
No, Inter Milan will not win. Inter Milan were very, very lucky to get the draw they got. I think all 4 or 5 of the best teams on the same side of the draw. I did say a few weeks back I thought Napoli had a small chance at winning it because I thought they were going to romp to the final because they had an easy draw, but AC Milan knocked them out. Man City will win by 3 goals, right? It may be 3-0, maybe 4-1, it may be 5-2, but Man City will win by 3 goals, okay? De Bruyne will score 1, Haaland will score 1, and Gundogan, because he's just insane at the moment, he'll get 1.
3-0?
No, I'm saying they'll win by 3, so it could be 4-1, could be they'll win by 3,
Okay.
and I'll pick 3 goal scores, so they'll score at least 3.
And you've just heard it from G-Max Corner. A quick one before we move on from football. The mighty, potentially the best ever, Lionel Messi has just announced that Barcelona can't afford his fees. That was always fucking going to happen. The guys can't fucking pay 2 pence to the fucking tea lady.
To be fair, if
And
Messi
you-
had ended
you-
up at Barca or Chelsea, you wouldn't have been surprised because they seem to have a sombrero.
Just honestly, these
There's
guys,
no salary cap for these
They're
guys.
a fucking basket case. And the thing I don't agree with, I used to love Barcelona in the Rivaldo days and that, until they fucking beat United twice in the Champions League. Then my tune changed. But
One of my favourites, sorry to interject, but one of my favourites was I think it was 94, you could only play 3 foreigners. It was a 2-each draw at the new camp, and it was Romario, Stoichkov, Hadji, I think were the 3 foreigners for Barcelona, and you had Keane, Giggs was a foreigner, and Schmeichel, right? Giggs was classed as a foreigner back in the days because he was Welsh, but it was 2 each. Sharp scored the 2, and it was 2 each. And I remember watching it at my grandpa's house, and they had the green, Barca had the green top, and none of them won it that year, right? I think, who won it that year? 94 would have been...
well, a big one.
Anyway.
A big one. They were in our group in '99.
Yeah.
My dad was at the Old Trafford game, 3 each.
Oh yeah.
3
Yeah. This is 94, like I'm like 10, 11.
Yeah, Beckham, wonderful free kick as usual, playing the white kit.
Yep.
Who else was in our group that year? Do you remember?
Did you have Bayern as well?
Bayern Munich,
There you
we
go.
beat in the final.
There you
in our
go.
Group.
Yep,
And
yep.
Bromby, the Danes.
Now what a group of death that was, by
That
the
was
way.
a group of death. So
Yeah.
that's why when I've commented on United's treble being better, just because from a romantic side of things, winning in the last minute, the way we beat
Man.
Arsenal in the semi-final of the FA Cup,
I had
and
this-
the way we won the league in
Yeah.
the last, practically
Against
almost
Spurs in the last
minute.
day of the season. Yeah.
Was
1-0
just-
down, 2-1 win.
Yeah, where City, to their detriment, are almost too good.
Yeah.
They're a plastic club because they weren't as good fucking 5 years ago. Or, sorry, certainly 10 years ago. Pep took over when they were champs. Don't get me wrong, what an operation. It's almost like...
Surgical. You've got to just
it's almost like you don't love them because they're too good. There's no like kinks. And it's like, you almost appreciate a default and a misses or something that you can fucking have a word with. I know we've both probably got a couple of those with our misses.
No, my missus is
On the
perfect.
side.
My missus
No.
is perfect.
No, sorry, me too, in case she's listening. But I think that's it, mate.
I would like to, not that I need this microphone, but I'll talk into it. I kind of agree, and I had this chat with my mate the other day, G-Walk. Hello, G-Walk. We were talking about trebles, and like I said, let's start by, if you win the same 3 trophies, it's the same treble.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to say which one's better and which one's worse.
Yeah.
Right? But I agree. I think Arsenal were probably the best team that year. They were a better team than Man United. The Man U won the treble, right? The semi-final, quite clearly Arsenal dominated that game, and how Giggs scored probably one of the greatest goals, top 5 goals of all time, right? But Arsenal dominated that game, missed a penalty.
Yeah, but do you remember Beck scored an absolute belter to start the game from a free like in the middle of the park?
Yeah.
Scored it. And
But what I'm saying is,
Keane got sent off.
yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, overcoming your biggest rival, and that was at the time. So that's when the Premiership was at its best. Arsenal and Man U were toe to toe.
Honestly,
Arsenal on the last day of the season, Arsenal could still win the league, but unfortunately, Man U had Spurs. Now, if Man U had any other club, a genuine, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but if Man U played anyone else, I would have had more hope. They're playing against Spurs. Spurs took the lead, which was amazing. Les Ferdinand scored, but I was waiting on them pulling the pants down, right? And Man U actually grinded that out too, and I think Andy Cole scored both.
Well,
but anyway,
Gary Neville hooked a shot of it. I was on TV in South Africa.
were you there?
I was on
Oh, you were in
TV,
South Africa, yeah.
I was on TV in South Africa because it was at a massive pub and where they
Yeah.
filmed it. I jumped on the bar and I was fucking giving it the big end.
Yeah.
Yeah, did crowd surfing.
Yeah.
But it was.
But like,
fucking
yeah, but like I said, to win that league was a really tough, grinding league. Man City beat Arsenal this year, but it became a bit processional at the end.
Yeah.
Gave him a decent run,
Absolutely.
but Arsenal gave Man U a great run in '99.
As
Last day of the
Gary-
season.
As Gary Neville said, got to 7-8 games in the days.
Of course, predicted it.
Well, not choked,
And that's
but
why he's no, but that's why he's an expert because
Yeah.
he's done it
Yeah.
15 times with Man United.
but-
He knew coming over the hill like a
but it's
jockey on a
like-
horse. You know if you're going to win the race
Yeah.
because she's got a bit of tank. You
Yeah.
go, oh, I've got a kick in her, right? And I'm near the front, right? Man U through Fergie said, if we're at top at Christmas, we win the league. If we win at Anfield, we win the league. There was all these different things Fergie told them, and Neville, to be fair to him, predicted absolute mystic Meg. Postradamus,
Yeah.
Pustradamus.
I don't think he was trying to wind Arsenal
I,
fans up.
I actually think the opposite. He was just being factual, right? There's no malice with Gary Neville. He's not aggressive. He's not like saying things for hot.
Martin Keown felt
Yeah.
that he was trying to fucking wind.
I think that's just an Arsenal fan getting upset, right? But I really like Gary Neville. I think he's a good pundit. The only thing he got wrong this year was when they lost 7-0 and he said that Liverpool didn't play well. That's just sour grapes. But like I said, to go back to the treble debate, that was Arsenal up there with Arsenal's one of Arsenal's greatest ever teams, and you beat them in the league and you beat them in the semi, and then obviously with Newcastle in the final, which is an easy win. But the semi was the real cup final, and Bayern Munich were favourites. Bayern Munich dominated that game. You're losing 1-0 with 89 minutes gone. Here's a point. Here's a hot take. Maybe it's the luckiest treble ever, right? Because you were probably the underdog in about definitely two of those three comps, right? Arsenal probably should have knocked you out the FA Cup. Bayern should certainly have beat you in that final. And the league, you probably are the best. Well, you can't say you're not if you win it. But Man City, there's just a bit of an element of predictability. It's expected. It's supposed to happen. I reckon, I haven't looked at the odds, but Inter will be 5 or 6 to 1, right? In a European Cup final, it should be evens, right? Or $1.82. It's going to be about $1.20 and 5s or 6s, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, it's a juggernaut. It's supposed to win. They've been built to win over the last few years. Get the best manager, get the best players, and if they don't win it, it will be an absolute shock. Whereas I remember my next door neighbour, Irish guy, Man U fan, we could hear him. No, it wasn't like it was a detached house. First goal goes in, Seamus goes, ah! When I lived in Straven in Scotland, right? 99 Champions League, watching the telly. So I'm 16 at 10. Yeah. So I'm not in the pub, I'm at home watching it. And then guy goes mental, runs out his guard, big Irish guy, mad Man U fan. He reminded me of Roy Keane, big bright face, red face. He looked like a bit of a psycho. He's just came out his guard and go back inside and they've just scored the game. He's gone mental, and I mean this, we had detached houses. You could hear it through the bricks. He went bananas, and we saw him at the front. He was crying. He was on as if the Gaza. He's like, oh, and crying. And I was saying to my mum, I said, "He makes me want to be a Man U fan." Like that was so much passion. You loved it.
You're a big fucking.
Love to see it, and I'd still say even the Liverpool 3-0 thing was amazing, right? The 3-3, right?
Absolutely.
But I think that's the best finish to a Champions League final ever, and the treble, like I said, possibly the luckiest treble, probably. But is it better than this? A treble's a treble, but like the passion and the fantasy and all that stuff, right? The romance of that treble is insane. The Giggs goal in the semi-final and those two goals at the end.
Saying. You've got an unbelievable comeback against Spurs, right? Unbelievable. The goal that Andy Cole scored where Gary Neville hooks it over, he fucking controls it and then he dinks it over the keeper in the last 10 minutes. Unbelievable. The final was obviously a bit of a dud against Newcastle, but the semi-final will go down as one of the greatest games. Easily. In FA Cup history, easily. FA Cup, easily. In English football
and I think even the most staunch Man U fan would say Arsenal deserved to win that game. It was a burglary.
Yeah.
Bergkamp missed a penalty, we dominated the game, Giggs scored easily the best goal in FA Cup history.
Just remember, Keane was sent off, so we're down. But
exactly. And that adds to it,
But again, the atmosphere around there, and then obviously the finals. You're talking about 3 games, albeit not the final in the FA Cup. And then, and just finally, we're not talking about a club that had superstars as bench players, right? We had certainly a Nicky Butt, but then we had the John O'Shea's, the Wes Browns, the boys that came on and did a job for you back in the day. Not the we take a world-class player and we bring in a player that's less than a world-class player.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I also think the majesty of Fergie was Wes Brown was massively underrated. He could have played in
100%.
any team in the Prem and played 38 games, right?
Just
happy
always
to
got
be, happy to be on the
injured, always
bench for
got
Man United.
Always
Phil
got
Neville
injured.
proved it when he went to Everton.
Yeah.
Was easily a great left back, played for England, right? But happy on the
And
bench at Man
midfield.
United.
Also
Nicky
filled
Butt
in
went to
midfield.
Newcastle, was the best player. I think he got in the team of the World Cup in 2002. World class player, but happy to be on the bench. Happy because the Fergie thing, right?
Nicky Butt's probably
Solskjaer,
the biggest.
probably the greatest super striker you could bring on.
Oh,
15 minutes to go, you needed a goal. Sheringham, he was at the twilight of his career, but happy to be on the bench and come off as a kind of impact player. What Fergie, I'm sure he gets a lot of credit for this, but he probably did revolutionise having a bench, right? Whereas in the old days you had your 11, and then you brought in someone else, your team got weaker.
Yeah.
Whereas Fergie was probably the first to have probably a 16, 18 of really good players. And like you said, they weren't all superstars, and but I reckon in this day and age, your Nicky Butt is your Gundogan, right? Like he'd be worth a lot of money. Your Brown is your Laporte or your Stones, right? Like it's just a different generation. But Fergie was the first, and Gary Neville said this. I'm not.
No, I agree.
I meant this.
And I think maybe also
he was the first to introduce a squad where everyone was good enough, and you didn't lose someone when you subbed someone on.
And he looked 3 games ahead. He told players. 2 games ahead. You're playing this week. Get prepared. And you're not starting the next couple. But the big thing again is maybe because the Shays and Browns and Butts that came through the academy, maybe they weren't recognised as good as they were.
They were very underrated, but I don't think in the realms of Manchester United and the club, they weren't underrated in any way, shape or form. Fergie loved them. But outside like anti-Man U fans or anyone that supported a different club, probably saw them as subs rather than world class.
But when you're talking about Laporte, who's highly rated, everyone, and was signed, had a great year. It's funny because we'll talk about this later today, just to include things. But Laporte started off brilliant at City. Stones had his ups and downs. Diaz has probably been the most consistent, despite injuries. But he's had guys that
I would just like to say on the record, on the air, that Pep Guardiola is the antichrist when it comes to fantasy football. Diaz was player of the season last year. This year he played about 15 games. Stones got the game. No one thought Stones would get a game, but he's ended up doing amazing. The year before, like you said, Laporte was player of the season. He was on the bench most of last year. He just likes winding us up, right? Like Pep likes to change things for the sake of changing things. You cannot buy a Man City player and win the Fantasy Football League. I'm just saying that now.
Talked and spoken from a spiteful fantasy football
loser
chairman and guy that will have to no doubt take a blow-up doll on a date. But that concludes football.
Soccer ball.
Messi, big news. Number of players going to the dirty Saudis, as in the league. Don't mean all Saudis.
Benzema's gone. Benzema's off. Talk of Zaha. Talk of Kante.
Kante is definitely gone, but we'll see what happens there. What we'll do is just in the next potties we'll give reviews and our grades on the English Premier League.
The season that was,
and
the year that was.
All right, thanks very much, guys.